First. Qin Shi Huang. Source, ChatGPT. Qin Shi Huang, 259–210, also known as Ying Zheng, was the first emperor in Chinese history to unify the country and establish a centralized system. He was also the first emperor in China to proclaim himself emperor. He was born in a period of war. After a series of wars and political struggles, he finally unified the six kingdoms of China and established the Qin dynasty. Qin Shi Huang took a series of measures, including abolishing the feudal system, implementing the system of prefectures and counties, unifying writing, weights and measures, etc., which enabled the country to implement unified laws, currencies and weights and measures standards, strengthened centralization, and laid the foundation for the unification in Chinese history. The foundation was laid for a centralized system. Qin Shi Huang also vigorously promoted the construction of the Great Wall and strengthened the defense of the northern border. At the same time, he also ordered the unification of writing, currency, weights and measures, etc., to strengthen the unity and control of the country. However, his rule was also controversial because of his cruel methods and centralized practices, such as burning books and humiliating Confucian scholars, and building terracotta warriors and horses. Although the Qin dynasty quickly perished after his reign, his political system and influence on national unification continue to this day and have had a profound impact on Chinese history. Source, Wikipedia. The first emperor of Qin, February 18, 259 BC, July 11, 210 BC, whose surname was Ying Zhao and whose name was Zheng. He was called Zhao Zheng, or Zhao Zheng, at the time. Most history books refer to him as Qin Huang Zheng or the first emperor. His ancestral home was Yingcheng, now Lewu District, Jinan City, Shandong Province, and he was born in Handan, the capital of the Zhao Kingdom, now Handan City, Hebei Province. He was the son of King Zhuangxiang of Qin and Zhaoji, and the 35th grandson of Yirei, an important minister of the Shang dynasty. The third volume of the unearthed Peking University collection of Western Han bamboo books calls him Zhao Zheng. Sima Zhen of the Tang dynasty cited Shivan in historical records Suyan and called him Zhao Zheng. Cao Ji's Edict of Emperor Wen was the first to call the first emperor Ying Zheng. Later generations generally called him Ying Zheng. He was also called Ancestral Dragon in some literary works. He was the monarch of the Qin state at the end of the Warring States period. He came to the throne at the age of 13. He successively eradicated Lao Ai and Liu Buwei, and re-employed Li Si and Wei Liao. At the age of 39, he destroyed the six kingdoms and established the Qin dynasty. He called himself the first emperor. When he was on patrol at the age of 50, he collapsed, reigned for 37 years. Qin Shi Huang was the first monarch in Chinese history to use the title emperor. After unifying the world, Qin Shi Huang inherited the county system and centralization of power from Shang Yang's reform, unified weights and measures, cars on the same track, books on the same text, and actions on the same principles and the legal system, establishing the authoritarian political pattern of more than 2,000 years in Chinese political history. He was hailed as one emperor through the ages by the Ming dynasty thinker Li Ji. But on the other hand, Qin Shi Huang also carried out many large-scale projects during his reign, including the construction of the Great Wall, Epang Palace, Lishan Mausoleum, etc. His impetuous administration made the people work too hard, which was an important reason for the rapid demise of the Qin dynasty 3 years after his death. Second. China's first emperor. Source, ChatGPT. The first emperor in Chinese history was Qin Shi Huang, 259–210, who unified China and established the Qin dynasty. After Qin Shi Huang unified the six countries, he abolished the feudal system, promoted centralization, and established the first feudal empire in Chinese history. He took a series of measures to strengthen centralization of power, such as implementing the system of counties and counties, unifying writing, weights and measures, etc., which had a profound impact on the unification and centralization of power in the country. Although Qin Shi Huang's reign was short-lived, his political system and influence on national unification continue to this day. Source, Wikipedia. From the ancient 3 emperors and 5 emperors era to the Xia and Shang dynasties, the title of the supreme ruler of China was Ho during his lifetime. Starting from the Shang dynasty, the monarch was called king during his lifetime and changed to emperor after his death, such as Huangdi, Haoyi, Haoji, Emperor Ku, Emperor Yao, Emperor Zhou, etc. From the Zhou dynasty onwards, the supreme leader was called emperor, and the Zhou family called Wang as the title of the emperor, such as King Wu of Zhou, King Ping of Zhou, etc. However, as early as the Western Zhou dynasty, Chu state had already declared itself king because of its opposition to the rule of Emperor Zhou. By the Warring States period, as Emperor Zhou completely lost power, events such as the Prime Minister of Zhou and the Prime Minister of the Five Kingdoms occurred one after another, making the country who was supposed to be the master of the world one after another. The title of king becomes a mere title of the king of a country and no longer has a respected status. In 288 BC, King Zhaoxiang of Qin claimed to be the Western Emperor and sent Minister Wei Ran as envoy to Qi to elect King Qimin as the Eastern Emperor. This aroused the anger of all the vassal states and cancelled it under great pressure. Seeing that the title of emperor was unpopular, the kings of Qi and Qin cancelled the imperial title. After the establishment of the Qin dynasty, Ying Zhang believed that he had the virtues of the 3 emperors and the merits of the 5 emperors and was unwilling to use king, which had become a general title for the monarch, so he established the term emperor as the official title of the supreme ruler. Since then, emperor has replaced emperor, queen, and king, and has become the title of the supreme ruler of China's imperial autocratic society for the next 2,000 years, and is still used interchangeably with Son of Heaven. 3rd. Spring and Autumn Period. Source: ChatGPT. The Spring and Autumn Period is an important period in Chinese history, from about 770 BC to 476 BC, about 2,500 years ago. This period is named after the book Spring and Autumn, which is the first chronological history book in Chinese history. It records the political, military, diplomatic, and other aspects of Lu and surrounding vassal states that Zhou Qiaming, the historian of Lu, saw and heard. Case. The Spring and Autumn period was a period of separatism and frequent wars in Chinese history. It was also an era of feudal princes competing for hegemony. During this period, many small countries appeared in eastern China. Frequent wars and diplomatic battles were fought between these small countries, forming a relatively politically divided situation. At the same time, the Spring and Autumn period was also the initial stage of the formation of China's feudal system. Countries began to implement the clan feudal system, and classes such as monarchs, officials, and scholars gradually formed. The Spring and Autumn period was also an important period for Chinese thought and culture. The various schools of thought began to rise, and thinkers such as Confucius, Mozi, and Laozi became active one after another. Their thoughts laid the foundation for the formation of later schools of thought such as Confucianism, Taoism, and legalism. In general, the Spring and Autumn period was an important and turbulent period in Chinese history, which had a profound impact on the politics, culture, and thought of later generations. Source: Wikipedia. The Spring and Autumn period, 770 BC, 476 BC/403 BC, referred to as the Spring and Autumn period, was the first half of the Eastern Zhou dynasty. After King Ping moved eastward, the power of the Zhou dynasty was greatly reduced, and it did not have enough prestige to command the princes, thus creating the situation in the early Spring and Autumn period. During the Spring and Autumn period, the power of the Emperor of Zhou weakened, and the heroes quarreled, and the Spring and Autumn hegemony was formed. Duke Huan of Qi, Duke Xiang of Song, Duke Wen of Jin, Duke Mu of Qin, and King Zhuang of Chu successively became hegemons, known in history as the 5 hegemons of the Spring and Autumn period. At that time, Duke Huan of Qi put forward the idea of respecting the Zhou family, rejecting the barbarians and forbidding usurpation and killing, and suppressing annexations, respecting the king and rejecting the barbarians. Therefore, the Emperor of Zhou was still respected on the surface. The Spring and Autumn period was named after the Spring and Autumn Annals revised by Confucius. This book records the history from the first year of Liu Yingxi, 722 BC, to the 14th year of Liu Agong, 481 BC, a total of 242 years. For the sake of convenience, later historians generally start from the first year of King Ping of Zhou, 770 BC, when the Eastern Zhou dynasty was established and King Ping moved east to Lui, to the 43rd year, 477 BC, or the 44th year, 476 BC, of King Jing of Zhou. It is called the Spring and Autumn period until, some scholars believe that it should be the end of the records in Zhou Xuan, 468 BC, the demise of the 3 families, 453 BC, or the division of the 3 families into the Jin dynasty, 403 BC. The Spring and Autumn period was followed by the Warring States period. According to historical records, in the 242 years of the Spring and Autumn period, 36 monarchs were killed by their ministers or enemy countries, and 52 vassal states were destroyed. There were more than 480 major and minor wars, and more than 450 appointments and alliance meetings between princes. The king of Lu went to court 3 times and hired him 4 times. 4th. Warring States period. Source: ChatGPT. The Warring States period was an important period in Chinese history, which lasted from about 475 BC to 221 BC, about 2,500 years ago. This period was named after the frequent wars and hegemony among the vassal states at that time. It was a period in Chinese history that saw divisions, separatism, and frequent wars. The Warring States period was the continuation and deepening of the Spring and Autumn period. The wars between the vassal states became more frequent and fierce, forming a situation in which the 7 heroes of Qin, Qi, Chu, Yan, Zhao, Wei, and Han stood side by side. The wars during this period were larger in scale and more brutal in their methods, and there were further developments and innovations in weapons and military tactics. During the Warring States period, various vassal states fought for hegemony and constantly fought wars, and also carried out large-scale political, economic, and military reforms. At the same time, this period was also a period of prosperity for thought and culture. Confucianism, Taoism, legalism, Moism, and other schools of thought emerged one after another. Various schools of thought competed and collided during this period, which contributed to the diversity and enrichment of Chinese thought and culture. Sex lays the foundation. At the end of the Warring States period, due to the rise of Qin and the outbreak of the Unification War, various vassal states were successively destroyed by Qin. Finally, when Qin Shi Huang unified the 6 countries and established the Qin dynasty, the wars and chaos in this period ended and began the Unified Dynasty period in Chinese history. The Warring States period had a profound impact on the development of Chinese history. Its political, military, ideological, and cultural changes laid the foundation for subsequent Chinese history. Source: Wikipedia. The Warring States period, 475 BC/403 BC 221 BC, also known as the Warring States period, or simply the Warring States period, was a period in Chinese history. There are 7 theories about the starting year of the Warring States period. Generally speaking, they are the 44th year of King Zhou, 476 BC, the 16th year of King Zhou Ding, 453 BC, or the 23rd year of King Wilye of Zhou, 403 BC. These 3 statements are accepted by more people. The Warring States period ended in the 26th year of Qin Shi Huang, 221 BC, when Qin unified the Central Plains. Later historians divided the first half of the Eastern Zhou dynasty into the Spring and Autumn period, and the second half into the Warring States period. The Eastern Zhou dynasty was destroyed by the Qin state in the 59th year of King Nan of Zhou, 256 BC, so the Eastern Zhou dynasty did not completely include the Warring States period. During the Warring States period, various vassal states fought endlessly, so later generations called it the Warring States. The name Warring States was taken from the Warring States policy compiled and annotated by Liu Xiang of the Western Han dynasty. In the 35th year of King Xian of Zhou dynasty, 334 BC, he was the prime minister of Zhuzhou, and in the 46th year, 323 BC, of the 5 kingdoms, all the major princes successively claimed the title of king. Wu, Yu, and Shu had already claimed the title of king in the spring and autumn period. The authority of Emperor Zhou was further damaged. The Warring States period saw large-scale changes in politics, economy, culture, and science and technology, such as the county system, the private land system, the widespread use of iron tools, and the dissemination of knowledge by nobles who lost their country and became common people. In order to acquire land, wealth, and population, various countries continue to engage in annexation wars, pushing this land that has been prone to frequent wars since the spring and autumn period to gradually move into a new era, shaping the unified centralized states. Cars on the same track, books on the same article, and actions on the same line. Prototype. The Warring States period inherited the turbulent times of the spring and autumn period, the beginning of the Qin dynasty, and continued the contention of 100 schools of thought. Countries successively strived for strength and implemented national reforms. There were a large number of illusions about famous generals competing for power and famous people fighting, which were passed down to future generations. 5th. 8 surnames in ancient times. Source: ChatGPT. In Chinese history, there is the so-called 8 ancient surnames, which refers to the 8 earliest surnames in ancient Chinese legends. These surnames have special status and symbolic meaning in ancient Chinese history and culture. The 8 major surnames are: Ji. The surname Ji is said to be a descendant of the Yellow Emperor and one of the earliest imperial surnames in ancient Chinese history. The national surname of the Zhou dynasty was Ji, such as King Wen of Zhou, King Wu of Zhou, etc. Zhang. The surname Zhang is also an important surname in ancient China. It is said that the surname Zhang is a descendant of Emperor Yan. It is said that the surname of King Shang in the Shang dynasty was also surnamed Zhang. Yao. The surname Yao is said to be a descendant of Emperor Yao, a legendary and wise monarch in ancient China. Zhang. The surname Zhang is also one of the very ancient surnames in Chinese history. Legend has it that he is a descendant of Huangdi Xianyuan. Zhao. The surname Zhao is also one of the very ancient surnames in Chinese history. It is said that it was a surname that appeared during the Xia dynasty and later became an important feudal surname. Meng. The surname Meng is said to be a descendant of Emperor Yao and is an aristocratic surname in ancient China. Yao. The surname Yao is a descendant of Emperor Yao and is also one of the important surnames in ancient China. Ou. The surname Ou is a surname in ancient China and is said to be a descendant of the Yellow Emperor. It should be noted that although these legends about the 8 ancient surnames have been recorded in ancient Chinese historical documents, their authenticity is difficult to verify, and they are likely to be fabrications and imaginations of later generations. Source: Wikipedia. The 8 ancient surnames are Chinese Han surnames, which originated from the matrilineal society 5 to 6,000 years ago and were derived from the name of the tribe or the name of the tribal leader. Therefore, the 8 major surnames in ancient times all come from the side of the word Nu, which means Ji, Zhang, Si, Ying, Gui, Gui, Yao. Another one says Ji, Zhang, Si, Ying, Gui, Gui, Yao. 6th. 7 Heroes of the Warring States Period. Source: ChatGPT. The 7 heroes of the Warring States period refer to the 7 powerful vassal states of China during the Warring States period, which competed with each other for hegemony. These 7 vassal states are Qin State, located in northwest China. It later emerged from the Qin State and eventually unified the 6 kingdoms and established the Qin dynasty. Qi State, located on the eastern coast of China. Qi State was relatively powerful during the Warring States period, but was eventually destroyed by Qin. Chu State, located in southern China. The Chu State often clashed with the Qin State during the Warring States period and was eventually destroyed by the Qin State. Yan State, located in the northeastern region of China. Yan State had many wars with Zhao State, Qi State, etc. during the Warring States period, but was eventually destroyed by Qin State. Zhao State, located in northern China. Zhao State was relatively powerful during the Warring States period and had fierce competition with Qin and other vassal states, but was eventually destroyed by Qin. South Korea, located in central China. South Korea was relatively weak during the Warring States period. It was often under the control of powerful states such as Qin, Qi, and Chu, and was eventually destroyed by Qin. Wei State, located in central China. Wei State had many wars with Qin and Zhao during the Warring States period, but was eventually destroyed by Qin. These 7 vassal states engaged in frequent wars and diplomatic struggles with each other, forming the political structure of China's Warring States period, which was also an important period in Chinese history. Source: Wikipedia. The 7 heroes of the Warring States period is the collective name for the 7 powerful vassal states during the Warring States period in ancient China. Numerous annexation wars during the Spring and Autumn period and the Warring States period reduced the number of vassal states from hundreds to dozens. By the late Warring States period, there were only 7 vassal states left that were enfeoffed or self-established by the Zhou Emperor, namely Qin, Qi, Tianqi, Yan, Chu, Wei, Zhao, and Han, in reverse order of destruction, collectively known as 7 heroes of the Warring States period. Often referred to as the 5 hegemons of the Spring and Autumn period. Among the 7 kingdoms, Han, Zhao, and Wei were the princes who emerged after the division of Jin. In addition to the 7 heroes of the Warring States period, there are other small countries such as Yu, Song, Wei, Eastern Zhou, Zhongshan, Lu, Teng, Zhou, Fei, etc., but their strength and influence are not as good as those of the 7 heroes of the Warring States period. They can only survive in the cracks of powerful countries, and eventually they all destroyed by the 7 heroes. However, Zhongshan and other countries were kings of each other, and the Warring States policy recorded their country's policies. The Song dynasty also became king in the late Warring States period and had certain strength. Song Xianggong is said to be one of the 5 hegemons of the Spring and Autumn period. Among these 7 heroes, the state of Qin was the strongest in the middle and late period of the Warring States period. The state of Qi rose in the middle of the Warring States period and was once tied with Qin as the 2 emperors of the East and West. Han was the weakest, the capital of Wei was the most spectacular. The state of Zhao had many famous generals, and the state of Yan and the Central Plains there is little exchange between them, and Chu state has a vast territory. Except for Qin, the other 6 countries are all east of Mount Wei, so these 6 countries are also called the Shandong 6 kingdoms. In 230 BC, Qin destroyed Han and ushered in the unification of the 6 kingdoms. After Prince Dan of Yan failed in his attempt to assassinate the king of Qin, resulting in his death and the destruction of the country, in 221 BC, the Qin army surrounded Zi'ai and destroyed Qi, ending the Warring States period. 7th. King Zhuangxiang of Qin. Source: ChatGPT. King Zhuangxiang of Qin, approximately 325 BC, 250 BC, was a historical monarch of the Qin state in China and an important ruler of the Qin state during the Warring States period. He is the son of King Zhaoxiang of Qin and inherited the throne of Qin. During the reign of King Qin Zhuangxiang, the Qin regime was relatively stable. He continued some of his father's policies, continued to strengthen centralization, strengthened internal rule, and continued to promote external expansion. During his reign, Qin had relatively few foreign wars and was mainly committed to internal governance and the enhancement of national strength. During his reign, King Zhuangxiang also attached great importance to culture and education, and Qin culture developed to a certain extent. He adopted the political ideas of the legalist schools such as Han Fizi and Li Si, and reused these legalist ministers to assist in state affairs, further strengthening Qin's centralized system. However, King Zhuangxiang of Qin also faced some internal and external challenges during his reign, such as the intrusion of Qin from neighboring princely states such as South Korea and Zhao, as well as dissatisfaction with internal aristocratic forces. In the later period of King Zhuangxiang's reign, the political situation of Qin began to be turbulent, but overall it still maintained a certain degree of stability. After the death of King Qin Zhuangxiang, his son Ying Zheng succeeded to the throne as Qin Shi Huang. He continued his father's policy, eventually unified the 6 countries, established the Qin dynasty, and became the first unified emperor in Chinese history. Source: Wikipedia. King Zhuangxiang of Qin, 281 BC, July 6, 247 BC, Historical Records. His name is Ziai Chu, Shui Jingzhu Volume 19. Under the Wei River as King Qin Zhuang, Taiping Huangyu Volume 25. Yangzhou as King Xiang of Qin. His surname was Ying, and his given name was Ziai Chu. Warring States policy records that his original name was Ziai, Yiren, and he was the monarch of the Qin state during the Warring States period. The son of King Qin Xiaoan and Xiaoji, he reigned for 3 years. He is China's first supreme emperor. Yiren's grandfather is King Zhao Xiang of Qin, his father is King Zhaoxiang's prince in Qiajun, and his mother is Xiaoji. Neither mother nor son of Yiren was favored by Lord Nguo, and Lord Nguo had more than 20 sons, so Yiren was sent to Zhao state as a hostage. After the Battle of Chongping, Qin killed Zhao and sent down 400,000 soldiers. As a result, the relationship between Qin and Zhao deteriorated extremely. War broke out from time to time. Strangers lived in Liaocheng and were treated coldly. He lacked carriages and horses for travel and daily belongings, and his life was difficult and very frustrated. When Liu Bue went to Handan, the capital of Zhao state, today's Handan city, Hebei province, to do business, he happened to meet a frustrated stranger. Liu Bue believed that as long as the foreigner was sent back to Qin to inherit the throne, he could make countless profits in the future. The foreigner was like a rare item that could be stored in a strange place to be sold at a high price. This is the origin of the idiom "a strange item can be lived in." Liu Bue then went to persuade Yiren to agree with his plan to return to the country and ascend the throne, and Yiren also promised to rule Qin with Liu Bue after it was accomplished. Liu Bue also dedicated his beloved singer Zhao Ji to a foreigner. Later, Zhao Ji and the foreigner gave birth to King Qin Zheng. Liu Bue took out 1,000 gold coins. In ancient times, gold generally referred to copper coins, but whether gold refers to copper coins in the pre-Qin and Han dynasties is still controversial. A large amount of gold, about 120 kilograms, was unearthed from the tomb of King Changji, the deposed emperor, of the Han dynasty. Some scholars it is believed that gold did have a large amount of gold in the pre-Qin and Han dynasties. As the principal, 500 gold were given to strangers for daily expenses and making friends with guests, and the other 500 gold were used to purchase rare treasures. Liu Bue went to Qin in person to meet Mrs. Huayang's sister and brother Yang Kanjun, and met Mrs. Huayang through them. While Liu Bue praised Yiren's virtuousness in front of Mrs. Huayang, he also asked Mrs. Huayang's sister and brother to persuade the childless Mrs. Huayang to accept Yiren as her adopted son, so as to prevent her from falling out of favor due to old age. Mrs. Huayang successfully persuaded in Qiajun, and in Qiajun carved a jade talisman for Mrs. Huayang and agreed that Li Li would be the heir. The two then appointed Liu Bue to be Yiren's teacher, and entrusted him to bring many gifts to Yiren, so Yiren became famous among the princes. In 257 BC, King Zhao Xiang of Qin sent Wang Liu to besiege Handan, the capital of Zhao. In retaliation, King Zhao Xiaocheng wanted to kill Yiren to vent his anger. Liu Bue conspired with Yiren and bribed the city defenders with 600 caddies of gold to escape from Zhao and return to Qin through the Qin army. Because Mrs. Huayang was from the Chu country, Liu Bue asked the foreigner who had returned to China to wear Chu country clothes to meet his wife. As expected, Mrs. Huayang was so moved that she adopted the stranger as her adopted son and changed her name to Ziai Chu. King Zhao Xiaocheng also took the initiative to send envoys to return Zhao Ji mother and son to make good friends with Qin. In 251 BC, King Zhao Xiang of Qin died, King Nguo succeeded to the throne, King Xiaoan of Qin, and Ziai Chu was established as the crown prince. King Xiaoan of Qin died suddenly after 3 days on the throne, and was succeeded by Ziai Chu, King Zhuangxiang of Qin. After King Zhuangxiang of Qin came to the throne, he ordered a general amnesty for the whole world, commended the heroes of the previous king according to their merits, gave preferential treatment to clan relatives, and gave alms to the people. He also honored his biological mother Xiaoji as the queen mother of Xia, and his adoptive mother Mrs. Huayang as the queen mother of Huayang. He appointed Liu Bue as the prime minister and granted Wengzhen. Ho. 8th. Liu Bue. Source: ChatGPT. Liu Bue, about 280 BC, 235 BC, was an important politician and reformer of the Qin state during the Warring States period in China. He was also one of the representative figures of the Qin state from the late spring and autumn period to the early Warring States period. He was from a wealthy family in Qin and later became the prime minister of Qin. Through political means and strategizing, Liu Bue assisted King Qin Zhao Xiang, King Qin Zhuangxiang, to defeat domestic dissidents, implement a series of major reforms, and lay the foundation for Qin's future strength. He advocated the implementation of legalist thought, advocated centralization of power, advocated the rule of law, opposed feudalism, advocated the abolition of the feudal system, implemented the system of counties and unified standards for land, household registration, weights and measures, etc., which greatly strengthened the unity and centralization of power in the country. Liu Bui's reforms promoted the development of Qin and laid the foundation for Qin to unify the 6 countries and establish the Qin dynasty in the future. However, he has also faced opposition and criticism from some for his tough tactics and policies. Eventually, he was ostracized by Qin Shi Huang, Ying Zheng, forced to resign as prime minister, and eventually executed. Although he suffered political failure and a tragic ending, Liu Bui's reform ideas and policies had a profound impact on Chinese history, laying the foundation for China's unification and the establishment of centralization. Source: Wikipedia. Liu Bui. 235 BC, surnamed Zhang, Liu family. A political figure in China's Warring States period, he was a native of Puyang in the Wei state, now south of Puyang, Henan. He was a big businessman at first, and later became the prime minister of Qin. He was granted the title of Marquis Wengzhen and served as prime minister in Qin for 13 years. With the ideological center of combining Confucianism, Moism, and law, he widely recruited disciples and worked together to compile Lu Spring and Autumn Annals, systematically putting forward his own political opinions, and later became one of the representatives of pre-Qin miscellaneous schools. When he was in power, he captured the lands of Zhou, Zhao, and Wei, and established Sanjuan, Taiyuan, and Dongjun. He made a significant contribution to the Qin dynasty's cause of annexing the 6 countries. Later, he was implicated in the rebellion of the Lao Ai group, and was dismissed from his position as prime minister, and moved to the fiefdom of Henan. Soon, King Qin ordered him to be exiled to Shu, now Sichuan. Bui was so worried that he committed suicide in Sanchuan County, now Luoyang, Henan. Liu Bui's birth year is unknown. Liu Bui was a native of Puyang in the Wei Kingdom and was doing business in Yangzhai, South Korea. Because of buying low and selling high, his family was rich in money. When Liu Bui was doing business in Handan, the capital of Zhao state, he met Ying Yiren, King Zhuangxiang of Qin, the son of Qin state who was a hostage in Zhao state. Liu Bui thought that a rare commodity could be lived in and decided to invest in Ying Yiren. He also gave Zhao Ji to Ying Yiren and gave birth to him. The next son, Ying Zheng, helped Ying Yiren return to Qin. In order to allow the foreigner to ascend the throne in the future, he gave 500 gold to the foreigner for daily life and making friends with guests. Liu Bui used another 500 gold to buy rare treasures, and then personally took them to Qin. In order to please the prince and Qiujun and his wife Mrs. Huiyang, see Historical Records, Biography of Liu Bui. Mrs. Huiyang had no children, so Liu Bui persuaded Mrs. Huiyang through her brother and sister to adopt the alien as their adopted son. Mrs. Huiyang then persuaded Qiujun to adopt the alien as his heir. This would prevent Mrs. Huiyang from falling out of favor due to old age and sexual decline. Mrs. Huiyang accepted this statement and personally met with the foreigner. Because Mrs. Huiyang was from the Chu country, Liu Bui adopted a nostalgia offensive and taught the foreigner to wear Chu clothes and speak the Chu language in advance. In addition, the foreigner himself handled the situation appropriately. Mrs. Huiyang was really moved and made the foreigner change his name to Zi Chu, adopted him as his adopted son, and persuaded Qiujun to make Chu his heir. In this way, Yiren became the legitimate son of Lord An, and his status in Qin was greatly improved. In the 56th year of King Zhaoxiang of Qin, 251 BC, King Zhaoxiang of Qin Yingji died. Prince Qiujun succeeded to the throne and became King Xiaoan of Qin. He died after 1 year of establishment. The Crown Prince Yingzichu succeeded to the throne and became King Zhuangxiang of Qin. In the first year of King Zhuangxiang of Qin, 249 BC, King Zhuangxiang of Qin made Bui his prime minister, granted him the title of Marquis of Wengzhen, and settled 100,000 households in Luoyang, Henan. In the same year, the Lord of Eastern Zhou and the princes plotted against Qin. Liu Bui was ordered to kill the Lord of Eastern Zhou and destroy the kingdom of Eastern Zhou. In the third year of King Zhuangxiang of Qin, 247 BC, King Zhuangxiang of Qin died of illness, and Ying Zheng succeeded to the throne, who became the first emperor of Qin. Ying Zheng was only 13 years old and respected Liu Bui as his second father. After Liu Bui came to power, he pursued the following policies, opening up territory and capturing a large number of cities in Han, Zhao, and Wei, so that Qin could successfully divide the 6 eastern countries into northern and southern parts, laying the foundation for the victory of the Unification War. Liu Bui recruited talents widely and accumulated a large number of talents for Qin. Strengthen infrastructure construction and build water conservancy projects such as the Zhenqiu Canal to promote Qin's agricultural production. Promote cultural construction, recruit customers to compile Lu Spring and Autumn Annals, and publish them in Xianyang stores to demonstrate its authority. Liu Bui often had an affair with the Queen Mother. Later, fearing that it would harm him, he found a man named Lao Ai with a huge penis. He pretended to be a eunuch and entered the palace to serve the Queen Mother. He was so favored by the Queen Mother that the Queen Mother gave birth to 2 sons with Lao Ai. In the 10th year of Qin Huangzhen's reign, 237 BC, Qin Huangzheng discovered that the Queen Mother had an affair with Liu and Lai. Not only did they have an illegitimate child, but it was also rumored that Qin Huangzheng was also the son of Liu Buwei. The king of Qin ordered an investigation, and Lao Ai rebelled. The king of Qin sent Liu Buwei, Chongping Jun, and Chong Wenjun to put him down and kill him. He then poisoned his mother Zhao and Lao's illegitimate son, and placed her mother Zhao under house arrest. The Lao Ai rebellion implicated Liu Buwei, and Qin Huangzheng planned to kill Liu Buwei. However, Liu Buwei allowed Qin Huangzhen's father to ascend to the throne of Qin, and he had the merit of supporting him. Moreover, many of Liu Buwei's retainers interceded, so he gave up the idea of sentencing Liu Buwei to death. In October of the 10th year of the Qin dynasty, 237 BC, the Qin dynasty dismissed Liu Buwei from the post of prime minister for dereliction of duty and exiled Liu Buwei to his territory. However, a year later, Liu Buwei was still famous, and many guests and envoys from various vassal states made a special trip to visit Liu Buwei. Qin Huangzheng was afraid that Liu Buwei would rebel, so he gave him an edict in the 12th year of Qin Huangzhen's reign, 235 BC. The general content is as follows. How can you contribute to Qin? Qin Feng Jun Henan, feeding 100,000 households. Why are you so close to Qin? Known as Zongfu. He and his family moved to Shu. Historical records, biography of Liu Buwei. Liu Buwei's family was sent to Shu. Thinking that the king of Qin would not let him go, he committed suicide by drinking poison. His body was secretly buried in Mang Mountain in the north of Luyi by his diners. Qin Huangzheng took the following measures against Liu Buwei's old troops and the guests attending Liu Buwei's funeral. All Liu Buwei's retainers from the 6 countries were expelled. Qin officials with a salary of more than 600 shi and those who attended Liu Buwei's funeral were deprived of their official titles and exiled to Fangling. Qin officials with a salary of less than 500 shi and those who did not attend Liu Buwei's funeral were also exiled to Fangling, but their titles were not deprived. 9th. Zhao Ji. Source, Wikipedia. Zhao Ji, Empress Dowager, 280 BC, 229 BC, whose name is unknown, was a woman in the Eastern Zhou dynasty and the Warring States period. She was a native of Handan, Zhao state. Later historians called her Zhao Ji because of her place of origin. The strange queen of King Zhuangxiang of Qin, the biological mother of Qin Shi Huang Yingzheng. According to historical records, at that time Ying Yi, the grandson of King Zhaoxiang of Qin, also known as Zi Yi, or a different person, that is, King Zhuangxiang of Qin, the son of King Yingzhu of Qin Xiaoan, whose biological mother was the unpopular Xiaoji, was sent to Zhao as a hostage. When Ying Yi was in Zhao state, he had good relations with Liu Buwei and had many contacts. During a meeting with Liu Buwei, Ying Yi saw that Liu Buwei Ji, Zhao Ji, had a good face, so he asked Liu Buwei for Zhao Ji. Then he was promised to Ying Yi. Through Liu Buwei's advice, Empress Ying Yi worshipped Mrs. Huang as her legitimate mother. In order to please Mrs. Huang, who was born in Chu state, she changed her name to Ziaichu. In the first month of the 48th year of King Zhao of Qin, 259 BC, Zhao Ji gave birth to a son named Ming Zheng in Handan. Because he was born in the state of Zhao, people at that time took the place as their surname, and they often called him Zhao Zheng, who later became Qin Shuang Yingzheng. After Yingzheng was born, Ying Zisha made Zhao Ji his wife. The birth of Yingzheng coincided with the discord between Qin and Zhao. Zhao was defeated in the Battle of Chongping, and the Qin army killed Zhao's surrendered soldiers. The relationship between the two countries fell into a tense situation of confrontation. In the 50th year of King Zhao of Qin, 257 BC, there was another conflict with Handan. During the Battle of Qin, Qin General Wang Liu led his troops to surround Handan. Zhao wanted to kill his hostage Ying Zishu. Liu Buwei bribed the guards with a large sum of money to allow Ying Zishu to escape from Handan and return to Qin. However, Zhao Ji, Ying Zheng's mother and son were still stranded in Zhao. The country was in a critical situation, but because of the protection of Zhao Ji's natal family, the mother and son survived. In the 56th year of King Zhaoxiang of Qin, 251 BC, King Zhaoxiang of Qin died, and King Nguo Yingzhou came to the throne. He was known as King Xiaoan of Qin in history. After Mrs. Huang became the king of Qin, Ying Zishu was established as the prince. At this time, Qin and Zhao had ceased their troops and had a truce. In order to express friendship, Zhao Ji and Ying Zheng were sent back to Qin. During the 6 years of separation between Zhao Ji, mother and son, and Ying Zishu, the war between Qin and Zhao was equally fierce. In view of the unknown life and death of Zhao Ji, mother and son who were stranded in Zhao, Ying Zishu married a Korean lady and gave birth to a son, Cheng Xi, who would later become the Lord of Chang'an. King Xiaoan of Qin died after only reigning for 3 days. In the first year of King Xiaoan, 250 BC, Ying Zisha came to the throne and was known as King Zhuangxiang of Qin in history. He appointed Zhao Ji as his queen, Ying Zheng as the prince, and his aunt Lady Huiyang as the queen mother of Huiyang. Xia Ji is the queen mother of Xia. In 247 BC, King Zhuangxiang of Qin died 3 years after taking the throne. Ying Zheng, who was only 12 years old, was established as king of Qin, Zhao Ji was named queen mother, and Liu Bui was revered as prime minister and known as Zongfu. After Ying Zichu Ying died young, Zhao Ji and Liu Bui often acted selfishly. However, seeing that King Qin was growing up, Liu Bui was afraid of causing trouble, so he bribed the eunuchs, male servants without genitals, also known as eunuchs, in the palace to kill him. The diner Lao Ai was sent to the palace and was pretended to be tortured. She appeared to be an eunuch, but in fact she was the queen mother's face. In 239 BC, the king's younger brother Ying Chenjiu defected to the state of Zhao and launched a rebellion. Lao Ai successfully quelled the rebellion and was granted the title of Marquis of Changzhen. He took Shanyang County, now southeast of Jiaozuo, Henan, as his seat, and also used Hexi, Taiyuan, and other counties. Seal the land for him. In 238 BC, the king of Qin received a tip-off, accusing Lao Ai of being a false eunuch, having an affair with the queen mother Zhao Ji, and plotting a rebellion. The king of Qin ordered a thorough investigation, and Lao Ai then forged the queen mother's seal and led her servants and a small number of troops to launch a coup and attack Kainian Palace. The king of Qin ordered Chongping Jun and Chan Guanjun to lead troops to quell the rebellion. Lao Ai's troops were quickly defeated. They were captured alive and sent to Xianyang to be beaten to death. The 3 Yi tribes were subjugated. Lao Ai's 2 sons with the queen mother were born in San. Members of the clan were executed in succession, and all their children, servants and guests were exiled to Shu. At the same time that Lao Ai was executed, Zhao Ji was driven to Yongdi by Ying Zheng to be imprisoned. Imprisoning the biological mother was against filial piety, but Ying Zheng was still angry and ordered that anyone who interceded for the queen mother would first be beaten with thorns and then executed. For this reason, 27 people who came to remonstrate were killed. At this time, Mao Jiao, a native of Qi state, persuaded Ying Zheng, pointing out that confining his mother would damage Ying Zheng's reputation and make it difficult to convince the world. Killing ministers who had given loyal advice would chill the hearts of the world's talents, and would be detrimental to the great cause of winning over the hearts of the 6 countries and unifying the world. Ying Zheng adopted Mao Jiao's suggestion, buried the murdered ministers lavishly, and personally led a convoy to Yongdi to take the queen mother back to Xianyang, where she returned to Ganquan Palace, and the relationship between mother and child was restored. Mao Jiao was honored as Shangqing because of this incident. After the failure of the Lao Ai coup, Ying Zheng took advantage of the situation and demoted Liu Bui back to his hometown. After Liu Bui received the order, the officials rushed to see him off. Upon seeing this, Ying Zheng issued an edict, implying that Liu Bui's great achievements shocked the master. In order to avoid implicating his family, Liu Bui committed suicide by drinking poisonous wine. He died at the age of 57. 6 years after Liu Bui's death, Zhao Ji also passed away at the age of 51, or some say 50. 10th. Biography of Liu Bui. Source: ChatGPT. The biography of Liu Bui is a biography in historical records, which records the life and political activities of Liu Bui, the Prime Minister of Qin during the Warring States period. Liu Bui is a famous politician and reformer in Chinese history. He played an important role in the politics of Qin and proposed a series of groundbreaking political reform plans, which laid the foundation for the strength of Qin and the unification of the 6 countries. Historical records. Biography of Liu Bui records Liu Bui's family background, achievements and political activities in detail. Liu Bui was born into a wealthy family in Qin. He showed outstanding talents and political ambitions when he was young. He was highly regarded by King Zhaoxiang of Qin, King Zhuangxiang of Qin, and served as the Prime Minister of Qin. During his tenure, Liu Bui carried out a series of important political reforms, including promoting legalism, strengthening centralization, abolishing the feudal system, and implementing the system of prefectures and counties, etc., which made important contributions to the unification and strength of the Qin state. However, as time went by, the relationship between Liu Bui and Qin Shi Huang, Ying Zheng, gradually deteriorated, and he was eventually ostracized by Qin Shi Huang and executed. Historical records. Biography of Liu Bui demonstrates Liu Bui's talents and political ideals as a politician and reformer through the description of Liu Bui's life and deeds. It also reflects the complexity and cruelty of Qin's politics during the Warring States period. Source: Baidu Encyclopedia. The biography of Liu Bui is a classical Chinese essay written by Sima Qian, a historian of the Western Han Dynasty, and is included in historical records. It is Liu Bui's personal biography. Through this biography, Sima Qian reflected the struggle for power in the Qin court, the dissolute life of the Empress Dowager, Zhao Ji, and the ruthlessness of political struggles. Liu Bui was a big businessman in Yangzai. He traveled around, buying at low prices and selling at high prices, so he accumulated a fortune worth thousands of gold. In 267 BC, the 40th year of King Zhao of Qin, the prince passed away. In the 42nd year of King Zhao, his second son Enquajun was made the prince. Lord Enguo had more than 20 sons. Lord Enguo had a concubine whom he loved very much. He named her his wife and called her Mrs. Huang. Mrs. Huang has no son. Enquajun had a middle-ranking son named Zishu. Zishu's mother was named Xiaoji, who was not favored. Zishu was sent to Zhao as a hostage of Qin. Qin state attacked Zhao state many times, and Zhao state did not treat Ziaichu politely. Zishu was the grandson of the concubine of the king of Qin and was a hostage in the state of Zhao. He was not rich in carriages, horses, and daily necessities, and his life was poor and very unhappy. Liu Bui went to Handan to do business. After seeing Zishu, he liked it very much and said, "Zishu is like a rare item that can be stored in a rare place to be sold at a high price." So he went to visit Zishu and said to him, "I can expand your family." Zishu smiled and said, "You can expand your own family first, and then come and expand mine." Liu Bui said, "You don't understand. My family has to wait for your family to grow before it can grow." Ziaichu knew what Liu Bui meant, so he took him to sit together and talk deeply. Liu Bui said, "The king of Qin is old, and Lorden has been appointed as the prince. I heard privately that Lorden loves Mrs. Huang very much. Mrs. Huang has no sons, and the only one who can choose the prince is Mrs. Huang. Now you have 2 brothers. There are more than 10 people, and you are ranked in the middle. You are not favored by the king of Qin and have been left as a hostage in the vassal states for a long time. Even if the king of Qin dies and Enquajun succeeds to the throne, you should not expect to be with the king of Qin sooner or later. The other brothers are vying for the position of prince." Zishu said, "That's true, but what should we do?" Liu Bui said, "You are very poor and embarrassed, and you are living here as a guest. You can't give anything to your relatives and make friends with your guests. Although I, Liu Bui, am not rich, I am willing to spend a lot of gold to lobby the Qin state for you, serve Lorden and Mrs. Huang, and ask them to make you the crown prince." Ziaichu then kowtowed and thanked, "If your plan comes true, I am willing to divide the Qin state. The land is shared with you." Liu Bui then took out 500 gold to give to Zishu for daily life and making friends with guests. He also took out 500 gold to buy rare toys, and took the west to the Qin state to lobby. He first met with Mrs. Huang's sister, and brought all the things that came were presented to Mrs. Huang. By the way, he mentioned that Ziaichu was smart and virtuous, and had friends with princes and guests from all over the world. He often said, "I, Ziaichu, regard my wife as the same as the sky. I cry day and night and miss the prince and his wife." Madame was very happy. Liu Bui took the opportunity and asked Mrs. Huang's sister to persuade Mrs. Huang, "I heard that if you use your beauty to serve others, once your beauty fades, your favor will decrease. Now, madam, you are serving the prince and you are very favored, but you have no son. If you don't take advantage of this opportunity to make a capable and filial person among the prince's sons, make him his heir, and treat him like your own son, then your husband will be respected when he is alive, and after his death, the son you create will be if you succeed to the throne and become king, you will not lose power in the end. This is what people say, one sentence can bring eternal benefits. If you don't establish the foundation when your appearance is beautiful, if you wait until your appearance fades and your favor is lost, even if you want to say a word to the prince, is it still possible?" Now that Ziaichu is capable, and he knows that he is in the middle, he cannot be appointed as heir according to the order, and his biological mother is not favored, so he will take the initiative to attach himself to his wife. If she really can, if you promote him as your heir at this time, madam, you will be respected and favored in the Qin kingdom for the rest of your life. After hearing this, Mrs. Huang thought this was the case, so she took advantage of the prince's convenience and tactfully mentioned that Ziaichu, who was a hostage in Zhao state, was very talented and everyone who came and went praised him. Then he cried and said, "I am fortunate to be able to fill the harem, but it is very regrettable that I have no son. I hope to make Ziaichu my heir so that I can have someone to rely on in the future." Enquajun agreed, and he and his wife carved jade talismans and decided after establishing Ziaichu as his heir. Lord Enguo and Mrs. Huang gave Ziaichu many gifts and asked Liu Bui to be his teacher. As a result, Ziaichu's reputation among the princes became more and more popular. Liu Bui chose a Handan woman who was very beautiful and good at dancing to live with her until she became pregnant. Ziaichu once drank with Liu Bui. After seeing the girl, he liked the girl very much, so he stood up and toasted to Liu Bui, asking for the girl to be given to him. Liu Bui was very angry, but then he thought about it and realized that he had spent a lot of money on Ziaichu in order to catch rare goods, so he sacrificed this woman. The woman concealed her pregnancy, and 10 months later she gave birth to her son Yingzheng, who later became Qin Shi Huang. Ziaichu made this concubine his wife. In 257 BC, the 50th year of King Zhao of Qin, Wang Ji was sent to besiege Handan. The situation was very urgent and Zhao wanted to kill Ziaichu. Zishu conspired with Liu Bue and gave 600 kilograms of gold to the officials guarding the city. They were able to escape and fled to the Qin army's camp, whereupon they were able to return home smoothly. The state of Zhao also wanted to kill Ziaichu's wife and son, but Ziaichu's wife was the daughter of a wealthy family in the state of Zhao, so he was able to hide it, so the mother and son survived. In 251 BC, the 56th year of King Zhao of Qin, he died. Prince An Qiujun succeeded to the throne as king, Mrs. Huang as queen, and Ziaichu as prince. The state of Zhao also escorted Zishu's wife and son Zhao Zheng back to the state of Qin. King Qin died a year after he succeeded to the throne, and his posthumous title was King Xiaoan. Prince Chu succeeded to the throne, and he became King Zhuangxiang. King Zhuangxiang honored his mother, Queen Huang, as the Queen Mother of Huang, and his biological mother Xiaji was honored as the Queen Mother of Xia. In 249 BC, the first year of King Zhuangxiang, Liu Bue was appointed Prime Minister and granted the title of Marquis of Wengzhen. 100,000 households in Luoyang, Henan, were designated as his settlement. King Zhuangxiang died 3 years after he ascended the throne. Prince Zhao Zheng succeeded him as king, respected Liu Bue as the Prime Minister, and called him Songfu. The king of Qin was still young, and the Queen Mother often had an affair with Liu Bue. Liu Bue's family has 10,000 servants. At that time, there was Lord Xinling in Wei, Lord Chen Shen in Chu, Lord Ping Yuan in Zhao, and Lord Mengchong in Qi. They all treated virtuous officials and made friends with guests. And we have to compete in this regard. Liu Bue believed that the Qin state was so powerful that it was a shame to be inferior to them, so he also recruited literati and bachelors and gave them generous treatment. There were as many as 3,000 diners under his disciples. At that time, there were many talented debaters in various princely states, like Sun King, who wrote books and established theories that were popular in the world. Liu Bue ordered his diners to write down what they saw and heard, and combined them into 8 readings, 6 treatises and 12 disciplines, totaling more than 200,000 words. I think it includes the history of heaven and earth and all things from ancient times to the present, so it is called Lu's Spring and Autumn Annals. He published it at the city gate of Xianyang, with a reward of 1,000 gold hanging on it, and invited tourists and guests from all over the world. If anyone could add or delete a word, he would be rewarded with 1,000 gold. The first emperor of Qin was getting older and older, but the Queen Mother remained promiscuous. Liu Bue was afraid that the matter would be exposed and disaster would befall him, so he secretly sought out a man named Lao Ai who had a particularly large private part as a retainer. From time to time, he would let actors sing and dance for fun, and ordered Lao Ai to put his penis on a Polonia wheel to make it rotate. Then he went and tried to let the Queen Mother know about it and use it to seduce her. After the Queen Mother heard about it, she really wanted to possess him secretly. Liu Bue offered him Lao Ai, pretending to have someone accuse him of committing a crime worthy of castration. Liu Bue secretly said to the Queen Mother, "You can let Lao Ai pretend to be castrated, and you can get him among the people who serve in the palace." The Queen Mother secretly gave many things to the officials who presided over the castration, pretending to punish Lao Ai, and pulled out he lost his beard and pretended to be a eunuch, so that he could serve the Queen Mother. The Queen Mother secretly committed adultery with him and loved him very much. Later, the Queen Mother was pregnant, and she was afraid that others would know about it, so she pretended that her fortune-telling was unlucky and needed a change of environment to escape, so she moved to the palace in Yangdi. Lao Ai always followed him around, and received very generous rewards. Lao Ai decided everything. Lao Ai's family has thousands of servants. There were more than 1,000 people who came to Lao Ai's family in order to obtain official positions. In 240 BC, the 7th year of Qin Shi Huang, King Zhuangxiang's biological mother, the Queen Mother Xia, passed away. Queen Xiaoan was called Queen Mother Huang and was buried in Shaoling together with King Xiaoan. The Empress Dowager Xia's son, King Zhuangxiang, was buried in Xiang, so the Empress Dowager Xia was buried separately in the east of Duyuan, saying, "My son can be seen to the east, and my husband can be seen to the west." 100 years later, next to there will be a city with 10,000 households. In 238 BC, the 9th year of Qin Shi Huang, someone reported that Lao Ai was not actually a eunuch. He often had fornications with the Queen Mother and gave birth to 2 sons. He hid them both. He also made a plan with the Queen Mother, saying, "If the king of Qin dies, he will be the eunuch. Let this son succeed you." So Qin Shi Huang ordered the judge to investigate the matter strictly and find out all the truth. The matter implicated the Prime Minister Liu Bue. In September of that year, he killed all the 3 tribes of the Lao Ai family, killed the 2 sons born to the Queen Mother, and moved the Queen Mother to live in Yangdi. The diners of Lao Ai's family had their property confiscated and moved to Shu. The king of Qin wanted to kill the prime minister Liu Buwei, but because of his great service to the late king and the many guests and debaters who interceded and put in good words for him, the king of Qin could not bear to bring him to justice. In October of the 10th year of Qin Shi Huang's reign, Liu Buwei was dismissed from the post of prime minister. When Mao Jiao, a native of Qi, persuaded the king of Qin, the king of Qin went to Yongdi to welcome the queen mother and made her return to Xianyang, but sent Liu Buwei out of the capital to the fiefdom in Henan. More than a year later, guests and envoys from various vassal states came in an endless stream to greet Liu Buwei. The king of Qin was afraid that he would launch a rebellion, so he wrote to Liu Buwei, "What contribution have you made to the state of Qin? The state of Qin granted you a place in Henan, with the settlement of 100,000 households. What blood relationship do you have to the king of Qin? You are called Zongfu." You and all the family members moved to Shu. When Liu Buwei thought that he was gradually being persecuted and feared that he would be killed in the future, he drank poisonous wine and committed suicide. Liu Buwei and Lao Ai, whom the king of Qin hated, were both dead, so all the guests of Lao Ai who had migrated to Shu were allowed to return to the capital. In 228 BC, the 19th year of Qin Shi Huang, the Queen Mother passed away and was given the posthumous title of Emperor Queen Mother. He was buried in Xiang together with King Zhuangxiang. Tai Shigong said, Liu Buwei brought along with Lao Ai Gaixian, and Liu Buwei was given the title of Marquis Wengzhen. Someone reported on Lao Ai, and Lao Ai heard about it. Qin Shi Huang inquired about it, but the matter was not revealed yet. When the king of Qin went to Yongdi to offer sacrifices to heaven, Lao Ai was afraid of the imminent disaster, so she conspired with her close associates to steal the Queen Mother's seal and mobilize soldiers to rebel in Kainian Palace. The king of Qin mobilized officers and soldiers to attack Lao Ai, but Lao Ai failed and escaped. He chased him to Haoan and beheaded him, and then beheaded his entire family. And Liu Buwei was reprimanded as a result. What Confucius meant by hearing was probably referring to people like Liu Buwei. 11th. Mrs. Huang. Source, Wikipedia. The Queen Mother Huang, 296 BC? 230 BC, was a political figure in the Qin state. During the 7 years before Qin Shi Huang Yingzheng came of age to take charge of the throne, Yingzheng adopted his grandmother, the Queen Mother Huang. She was originally the stepmother of King Qin Xiaoan during the Warring States period, and was later honored as the Queen Mother of Huang when her stepson King Zhuangxiang came to the throne. Together with the Queen Mother Qin Xian, the concubine of King Qin Huiwen, she was born in the royal clan of the King of Chu with the surname Mi. It is speculated that she should be the niece of Queen Mother Xian and the granddaughter of her younger brother Huang Jun Mirong, also known as Xinrong. Before King Zhuangxiang ascended the throne, he was known as Mrs. Huang or Queen of Huang. Liu Buwei, a merchant from the Wei Kingdom, came to Qin to offer advice through the connection between Mrs. Huang's sister and her brother Yang Kanjun. Liu Jun said that his wife had no children. 100 years after Nqiua, if the concubine Yingzi was born, his wife would have nothing to rely on. However, Nqiua had more than 20 children, among whom there was a strange person, also called Ying Yi, who was very famous. Because his biological mother Xiaoji was not favored, she was sent to Zhao as a hostage. Since Qin and Zhao had been at war for many years, the situation was very difficult. The stranger was attached to Mrs. Huang and hoped that Mrs. Huang would accept her as his heir. Mrs. Huang believed this deeply and adopted Liu Buwei's suggestion. Soon she engraved a jade talisman on Nqiua as a certificate and agreed to adopt a stranger as his heir. In the 50th year of King Zhao of Qin, 257 BC, Qin General Wang Liu besieged Handan, the capital of Zhao State. Zhao State originally wanted to execute the hostage Yiren to vent his anger. Fortunately, Liu Buwei paid a lot of money to bribe the officials guarding the city to help Yiren escape back to Qin. His wife Zhao Ji and Yingzheng was still trapped in Handan, in a critical situation, but he survived by chance. Upon Liu Buwei's suggestion, the foreigner who returned to Qin put on Chu costumes to pay homage to Mrs. Huang. Mrs. Huang was overjoyed and formally adopted him as her adopted son. The foreigner also changed his name to Zi Chu to welcome Mrs. Huang. So good. 12th. Lao Ai. Source, Wikipedia. Lao Ai, 259 BC, 238 BC, was a figure in the Qin state at the end of the Warring States period. She was the face of Qin Shi Huang's mother Zhao Ji. She pretended to be an eunuch and had an affair with Zhao Ji to have a son. Later, she tried to launch a mutiny to kill the Qin king, but was defeated and the clan was exterminated. According to historical records, Lao Ai was a man with a huge penis. He had a great guest Zhou. Seeing that King Yingzheng of Qin was getting older, Liu Buwei was afraid that he would get into trouble if he continued to have an affair with the Queen Mother of Qin and Zhao, so he heard that Lao Ai had special powers. After that, he took Lao Ai into his residence and asked him to perform the penis wheel technique from time to time, which is to use the penis as an axis to turn a Polonia wheel. When Zhao Ji heard that his sexual ability was so strong, she conspired with Liu Bue to make Lao Ai pretend to be guilty of corruption, castration. After cutting off her eyebrows and beard, she successfully joined the Queen Mother as a eunuch and served as a minister. Later, Zhao Ji and Lao Ai moved to Yongcheng, the capital of Qin state, in order to cover up others' eyes. The two gave birth to 2 sons. Lao Ai called himself the false father, the foster father of King Qin. In 239 BC, Lao Ai was granted the title of Marquis of Changxin, most likely because he was responsible for quelling the rebellion of Wang's younger brother Cheng Xai's tribe and received the title of Marquis, and took Shanyang County, southeast of today's Jiaozuo, Henan, as his seat. Hexi, Taiyuan and other counties were granted land to it, and people at that time called it Lao State. At most, Lao Ai's family had thousands of children and more than 1,000 followers. In 238 BC, someone reported to King Yingzheng of Qin that Lao Ai was a fake eunuch, had an affair with Queen Mother Zhao Ji, planned a rebellion, and replaced her with his son. The King of Qin ordered a thorough investigation. After hearing about the incident, Lao Ai decided to take a preemptive strike, so she forged the seals of the King of Qin and the Queen Mother, led the rebels to launch a coup, and attacked the Kainian palace. The King of Qin ordered Liu Bue, Chongping Jun and Chen Guanjun to lead their troops to attack. Lao Ai's army was defeated and captured alive. After being sent to Xianyang, he was tortured by being broken into pieces by a chariot. Members of the clan sat together and were put into skins and beaten to death. All his servants were exiled to Shu, and the exiled servants were pardoned in 236 BC. There is only one sentence in the historical records about Lao Ai being granted the title of Marquis. Lao Ai was granted the title of Marquis of Changxin. He was given a mountainous land and ordered to live in it. The palaces, carriages, horses, clothes, gardens, hunting were restricted. All matters were resolved, no matter how small or big. Uai. Taiyuan County in Hexi Province was renamed the State of Ai. There is no record of the reasons for the enfeoffment of marquises and kingdoms. The Qin dynasty has implemented a strict military nobility system since Shang Yang's reform. It is definitely not the folk legend that Lao Ai was the Empress Dowager. Love it and get a title. The records of this in historical records and the chronicles of Qin Shi Huang occurred in the 8th year of the Qin dynasty when Cheng Yu rebelled. It may be because Lao Ai participated in the counter-rebellion against Cheng Yu. Of course, all this is only recorded in the historical records. Analyze and judge things without preparing records to substantiate them. There has always been a mystery in history about the Lao Ai rebellion that occurred in the 9th year of the Qin dynasty. The Lao Ai rebellion was historically called the Kainian Palace Rebellion. People have always said that Lao Ai wanted to kill the king of Qin through rebellion and establish himself. One of the 2 children is the king of Qin. However, this statement actually ignores the huge power of the Ying clan in the Qin court. From this point of view, it is impossible to realize Lao Ai's plan to establish his own child. The most important thing is that during the entire rebellion, King Yingzheng of Qin was not in Xianyang, and Prime Minister Liu Bue was not in Xianyang. This means that the head of state and the head of government of Qin were not in Xianyang, the capital. Then the question is, what is the goal of the Lao Ai rebellion? Who? What is the purpose of the rebellion? Now, as 2,000 years have passed, and all the participants have turned into dust, there may be no answer to this eternal mystery. 13th. Unify 6 countries. Source, ChatGPT. The unification of the 6 kingdoms refers to the event in Chinese history when the Qin state unified the 6 kingdoms during the Warring States period, also known as the Unification War. This war was launched by Qin Shi Huang, Yingzheng, to unify China, ending the divisions during the Warring States period, laying the foundation for China's unified feudal system, and also starting the establishment of the Qin dynasty. Before the unification of the 6 kingdoms, China was in the Warring States period, divided, and various vassal states competed with each other for hegemony, forming a situation of 7 powerful vassal states, Qi, Chu, Yan, Han, Zhao, Wei, and Qin. As one of them, Qin state gradually grew stronger through a series of political, economic, and military means. Qin Shi Huang launched a war of unification and successively destroyed the 6 kingdoms of Han, Zhao, Wei, Chu, Yan, and Qi, and finally brought most of China under the territory of Qin, achieving the first unification in Chinese history. This event occurred in 221 BC and marked the establishment of the Qin dynasty, the first unified centralized state in Chinese history by Qin Shi Huang. The event of unifying the 6 countries was of great significance in Chinese history. It ended the long-term division, unified China's politics, economy, and culture, laid the foundation for the subsequent formation of the centralized system and feudal society, and also opened the door to a new era in ancient Chinese history. Source, Baidu Encyclopedia. The War of Qin's destruction of the 6 kingdoms, also known as the War of Qin's unification, refers to the war in which Qin, the most powerful of the 7 vassal states at the end of China's Warring States period, destroyed the other 6 vassal states and completed the unification of China. In 238 BC, King Yingzheng of Qin eradicated the clique of Prime Minister Liu Buwei and Changzhen Lao Ai and began to rule personally. With the assistance of Li Si, Wei Liao and others, Qin Huangzheng formulated the strategy of destroying the princes, becoming an emperor, and unifying the world. The specific measures are: win over Yan and Qi, stabilize Wei and Chu, eliminate Han and Zhao, make close contacts with distant enemies and defeat them one by one. From the attack on Korea in 230 BC to the destruction of Qi in 221 BC, it took a total of 10 years to eliminate the 6 kingdoms of Han, Zhao, Wei, Chu, Yan, and Qi in order, ending the more than 500 years of China since the Spring and Autumn period. The situation of feudal vassals and feudal states led to the establishment of the first centralized monarchy in Chinese history, the Qin dynasty. The Qin dynasty was the first unified and centralized feudal dynasty in Chinese history. 14th. Qin Shi Huang's political achievements. Source: ChatGPT. Qin Shi Huang, Yingzheng, was an important ruler in Chinese history. During his reign, he implemented many political, economic, cultural, and other reforms and measures, which had a profound impact on Chinese history. The following are the main achievements of Qin Shi Huang. Unification of the 6 kingdoms. Qin Shi Huang destroyed the 6 kingdoms of Han, Zhao, Wei, Chu, Yan, and Qi through a series of wars, achieving the first unification in Chinese history, establishing the Qin dynasty, ending the long Warring States period, and unifying the 6 kingdoms. China's political landscape. Implementation of the system of prefectures and counties. Qin Shi Huang implemented the system of prefectures and counties, dividing the country into several prefectures and counties, implementing a unified administrative system, strengthening the central government's control over local areas, and promoting the unification and centralization of power in the country. Law and order system. Qin Shi Huang implemented the law and order system and promulgated a series of laws and decrees to standardize social order, strengthen centralization, and promote the unity and development of the country. Unified writing and weights and measures. Qin Shi Huang implemented a unified writing and weights and measures system, unified the writing and weights and measures standards, and strengthened the country's unification and governance capabilities. Building national infrastructure. Qin Shi Huang vigorously developed national infrastructure and built important projects such as the Great Wall and the Mausoleum of the First Emperor, strengthening the country's defense capabilities and governance foundation. Promoting ideological unification. Qin Shi Huang promoted the burning of books and the humiliation of Confucianism, which unified thought and culture, strengthened the ideological unity of the country, and promoted the stability and unity of the country. Although Qin Shi Huang's ruling method is controversial, his political achievements had a profound impact on Chinese history, laying the foundation for the unification of China's feudal system and laying an important foundation for the subsequent development of Chinese history. Source: Blogger. Politics. 1. Improve the dignity of the emperor. Yingzheng believed that he had merits and demerits of the 3 emperors and his virtues were equal to the 5 emperors, so he adopted the titles of the ancient Xiao lords and combined them into emperor, which was used as the proper title of the emperor. He also proposed that I am the first emperor, and my descendants will be counted from 2nd to 3rd to tens of millions of generations, and will be passed on endlessly in historical records, the chronicles of Qin Shi Huang. From then on, the monarch in Chinese history was called the emperor, and Yingzheng was called the first emperor of Qin, 221 BC, 210 BC. In addition, a series of special names are used to show the supreme authority of the country's supreme ruler. For example, the emperor calls himself I, his order is called Zhi or edict, and his seal is called Xi. To strictly implement centralization of power, Qin Shi Huang established a prime minister, a prefect, and a censor in the central government, who were in charge of government affairs, military affairs, and supervision throughout the country, called the 3 officials. There are also 9 ministers such as Feng Chong, Lang Zhongling, Wai Wei, Taipu, Ting Gui, Diank, Zhongzheng, Zisu Naishi, Xiaofu, etc., who are responsible for the work of various government departments. The prime ministers are each responsible to the emperor and obey the emperor's orders in everything. In addition, the Shikingshilo system was abolished. Officials from the central to local governments were appointed and dismissed by the emperor and had no right to be hereditary. 3. Abolition of feudalism and establishment of prefectures and counties. After Shang Yang's reform, the Qin dynasty gradually implemented a system of prefectures and counties directly controlled by the monarch. After the 6 kingdoms were wiped out, the first emperor adopted the views of Li Si, the court lieutenant, and stopped reinstating feudal lordships. He divided the world into 36 counties, and the counties were assigned guards, lieutenants, and prison guards. Historical records. The chronicles of the first emperor of Qin. Each county administered several counties, and there were other grassroots organizations under the counties. County chiefs were also appointed and dismissed by the emperor. 4. Strengthen grassroots control. After Qin unified the country, it continued to implement the household registration and joint sitting law since Shang Yang's reform. 5 families were called Wu, the chief of the Wu, and 10 families were called Shi, the chief of the chief, and above that there are Li, pavilion, township, and so on. Through the layer-by-layer control of prefectures, counties, townships, pavilions, Li, Shi, and Wu, the emperor could extend his rule to the countryside. 5. Implementing severe punishments and laws, the Qin dynasty revised a set of strict laws based on the original laws of the Qin state and promulgated them throughout the country. The first emperor was specialized in punishments and practiced them diligently. Hanshi Criminal Law chronicles, he takes pleasure in punishment and killing as his prestige. All matters in the world, no matter how small or large, are determined by the superior. Historical records, the Chronicles of Qin Shi Huang. Military. 1. Destruction of weapons. In order to prevent the remnants of the 6 kingdoms from rebelling, the first emperor ordered all the weapons from all over the world to be gathered in Xianyang, sold as 12 zongqi jinren, each weighing thousands of stones, and placed in the Yan Palace. Historical records, the Chronicles of Qin Shi Huang. 2. Leveling the dangerous obstacles. The first emperor ordered to destroy the city walls, seize the Sichuan defenses, and remove the dangerous obstacles. Historical records, the Chronicles of Qin Shi Huang stated that all the cities, gates, and fortresses built by the 6 countries in the dangerous areas were to be demolished. Prevent the recurrence of feudal separatism. 3. Immigration to guard the border. Move hundreds of thousands of people to the Hintao area in the north and Wuling area in the south to strengthen border defense and develop the border area. 4. Universal conscription. All men between the ages of 17 and 60 are required to serve in the military. Those who guard the border for 1 year are called garrison soldiers, those who guard the capital for 1 year are called zheng soldiers, and those who go to the county to serve on missions are called garrison soldiers. 5. Building the Great Wall. Qin Shi Huang connected the old Great Walls built by Yan, Zhao, and Qin in the north during the Warring States period. Building the Great Wall, due to the terrain, used dangerous fortresses to start from Lintao and reach Liaodong, stretching more than 10,000 miles. Historical records. The biography of Meng Tian. Economy. 1. Migration of the rich. 120,000 old nobles and wealthy households from the 6 countries were forced to move to Xianyang, and some were moved to Bashu, Nanyang and other places. This made them leave their hometowns, which facilitated surveillance and promoted the prosperity of the capital and other places. 2. Unified currency. It is prohibited to use the turtle, shell, jade, and other coins of each of the 6 countries. It is stipulated that 2 types of round currencies, gold and copper, should be uniformly used throughout the country. Gold is the upper currency, and the unit is yi, 20 taels, copper is the lower currency, and the unit is half a tael. 3. Unification of weights and measures. The Qin state, measurement and weighing instruments from the time of Shang Yang were used as the standard for calculating length, size, and weight throughout the country, and an edict for the unification of weights and measures was inscribed on them. The units of degree are minutes, inches, feet, zhang, yin, etc. The units of measurement are he, liter, do, dendrobium. The units of weight are baht, liang, kati, stone, etc. 4. Determining the private ownership of land. Since the Qin dynasty abolished the well fields and opened Qunmo during the Shang Yang period, the Qin dynasty has gradually allowed the private ownership of land and the free sale and purchase of land. After unifying the country, the Qin dynasty paid more attention to agricultural production and implemented the strategy of strengthening the capital, agriculture, and suppressing the weak, commerce. The stone engraved on the Longjai terrace of the first emperor clearly states, the merits of the emperor are hard work and ability. He works in agriculture and eliminates the poor. The head of Guizhou is rich. In 216 BC, an order was issued to let the heads of Guizhou seize their own land, allowing people who owned land to report the number of fields they occupied and pay taxes, officially recognizing the legality of private ownership of land. 15th. Qin Shi Huang Mausoleum. Source, ChatGPT. The mausoleum of the first emperor of Qin is the mausoleum built by the first emperor of Qin in China. It is located in the mausoleum of the first emperor of Qin in Lintung District, Xi'an City, Shaanxi Province. It is the first imperial mausoleum in Chinese history and one of the largest and best preserved imperial mausoleums in the world. The mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang was built by Qin Shi Huang to show his great cause of unifying the world after he unified the 6 kingdoms. The mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang was built in 246 BC and took about 39 years to complete. The mausoleum is large in scale, covering an area of about 56.25 square kilometers. It is composed of inner and outer city walls, palaces, tunnels, altars, burial pits, etc. The most famous part of the mausoleum is the Terracotta Warriors and Horses Pit, which is a large-scale underground military museum. It contains thousands of terracotta warriors and horses of different sizes, as well as chariots, soldiers, officials, and other funerary objects. It is known as the 8th wonder of the world. The construction projects, palaces, and funerary objects of Qin Shi Huang's mausoleum demonstrate the political, military, cultural and other achievements of the Qin dynasty, and have extremely high historical, scientific, and cultural value. Since its construction, the Mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang has remained one of the important cultural heritage sites in China and even the world, attracting a large number of domestic and foreign tourists every year. Source: Wikipedia. The Mausoleum of the First Emperor of Qin is the tomb of the first emperor of the Qin dynasty. It is located in Lishan, Lintung District, 31 kilometers east of the city center of Xi'an, Shaanxi Province, China. It was originally named Lishan Garden. The existing mausoleum is 76 meters high. It is located in the southwest of the inner city, facing west and east. The place where the coffins and burial objects are placed is the core of the Qin Shi Huang Mausoleum complex, which has not yet been excavated. According to current research, the discovered terracotta warriors and horses of Qin Shi Huang are generally believed to be located outside Qin Shi Huang's mausoleum. They have the meaning of garrison mausoleum and are an integral part of Qin Shi Huang's mausoleum. According to the historical records, the chronicles of the first emperor of Qin, when the first emperor came to the throne, he passed through Lishan Mountain and conquered the world. He sent more than 700,000 people from all over the world, passed through 3 springs, put copper into the coffin, and watched hundreds of officials and strange utensils. Monsters migrate and hide all over it. Let the craftsman make a crossbow arrow, and shoot at those who get close. Use mercury as 100 rivers, and seas, imbue the machine with signs, astronomy above, geography below. Use mermaid paste as a candle to save the immortal, it will last for a long time. Pointing out that there were more than 700,000 people building Qin Shi Huang's mausoleum at that time. 3 layers of underground water were dug through, and copper water was poured into the gaps. A palace was built, officials were placed, and rare treasures were placed. Hundreds of rivers and seas were made of mercury, and machines were used to simulate the flow of rivers. Astronomical images were installed on the top wall, and geographical graphics were placed below. The oil of the giant salamander was used to make a bright lantern. There are many mechanisms in the tomb. In order to prevent leaks, after Qin Shi Huang was buried, Qin II ordered the craftsmen to be sealed between the inner and outer cities of the underground palace. Judging from scientific exploration and local excavations, there are many metal substances in the underground palace and a good drainage system. As for how deep the underground palace is, there is a lot of controversy among academic circles, with different opinions ranging from 20 meters to 50 meters. Some scholars believe that the so-called through 3 springs is just a false reference. The construction and earth sealing around the Qin mausoleum had not yet been completed, and before the earth was piled up to the expected height of 122 meters, peasant riots broke out in the late Qin dynasty. Zhang Han transferred all the 700,000 people who built the mausoleum to resist the riots. At this point, the construction of the Qin mausoleum was interrupted. In 1987, the mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang and the terracotta warriors and horses were listed as World Cultural Heritage. 16th. Terracotta Warriors and Horses Pit. Source: ChatGPT. The Terracotta Warriors and Horses Pit refers to the underground tomb located in the mausoleum area of Qin Shi Huang. There are a large number of pottery figurines, mainly the soldiers, horses, chariots, officials, and other burial objects used by Qin Shi Huang after he unified the 6 kingdoms. These pottery figurines are large in scale and lifelike. They are a typical representative of the burial system in ancient China and one of the precious materials of world archaeology. The terracotta warriors and horses of Qin Shi Huang are considered a miracle in the history of world archaeology and one of the greatest archaeological discoveries in China. The most famous pit of the terracotta warriors and horses is Pit No. 1, in which thousands of terracotta warriors and horses were discovered. These terracotta warriors are arranged in an orderly manner, simulating the Qin army's formation, as well as chariots, soldiers, officials, and other funerary objects, showing the unification of Qin Shi Huang during the 6th period. The country has strong military strength and magnificent imperial tomb construction projects. The discovery of the terracotta warriors and horses pit has had a profound impact on the world's understanding of the Qin dynasty's military system, culture, and art, and has become one of the important objects in world archaeological research. They have also become one of the symbols of Chinese history and culture, attracting tourists from all over the world. Source: Wikipedia. The terracotta warriors and horses of the first emperor of Qin, also known as the terracotta warriors and horses of the mausoleum of the first emperor of Qin and the terracotta warriors and horses of the mausoleum of Qin, are located in Xiang Village, Lintung District, Xi'an City, Shaanxi Province, China. The mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang was built from 246 BC to 208 BC, which lasted 39 years. It is the mausoleum of the Qin dynasty Emperor Qin Shi Huang in Chinese history. It is also the first large-scale, well-organized and well-preserved imperial mausoleum in China. The existing tomb is as high as 76 meters tall. The layout of the cemetery is modeled on Xianyang, the capital of Qin dynasty. It is divided into inner and outer cities. The inner city has a circumference of 2.5 kilometers and the outer city has a circumference of 6.3 kilometers. The mausoleum is located in the southwest of the inner city, facing east from the west. The place where coffins and funerary objects are placed is the core of the Qin Shi Huang Mausoleum complex, and has not yet been excavated. According to current research, the pit of the terracotta warriors and horses is located about 955.5 meters east of the enclosure of Qin Shi Huang's mausoleum. It is generally believed that the terracotta warriors and horses are located on the periphery of Qin Shi Huang's mausoleum and have the meaning of a garrison mausoleum. They are an integral part of Qin Shi Huang's mausoleum. In 1987, the mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang and the terracotta warriors and horses were included in the World Heritage List by UNESCO. After Qin Shi Huang ascended the throne, he began to build his own mausoleum, and the construction process took place throughout his life. The total area of Qin Shi Huang's mausoleum reaches 50 square kilometers, including the current Qin terracotta warriors and Qin Shi Huang's mausoleum. The mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang is the only imperial mausoleum in the world. First of all, there are strict requirements on the sources of various raw materials, and many of them are mined and processed by specialized craftsmen. A large amount of manpower and material resources were used during the construction process. Some historians believe that at most 700,000 people participated in the construction project. The terracotta warriors and horses in Qin Shi Huang's mausoleum have not been recorded in historical records, so they are not known to anyone. This is why they have been able to preserve their original appearance after more than 2,000 years. On March 29, 1974, there was a severe drought in Shaanxi. Yang Haifa, a villager in Lintung County, accidentally discovered fragments of terracotta warriors and horses while digging a well to collect water. At that time, the villagers called these ceramic sculptures tile lords. When people first saw the terracotta warriors, the colors of their clothing and weapons were still very bright and beautiful, and their power has not diminished after 2,000 years. However, when archaeologists excavated the earth, due to the oxidation of the air, their color gradually faded away within a few minutes. The flakes disappear, leaving only the clay color that the general public remembers. From 1976 to 1978, the archaeological team added archaeological, conservation, photography, restoration and other personnel, and various excavations were carried out in an all-round way. On October 1, 1979, the Qin Shi Huang Terracotta Warriors and Horses Museum began to be displayed to domestic and foreign visitors. Special. Qin Shi Huang destroyed 6 countries and unified the world in 15 years. One person was killed by mistake and the Qin dynasty was gone in 14 years. Source: Yahoo News. Qin Shi Huang Yingzheng was the first emperor in Chinese history to use the title of emperor. He spent 15 years destroying the 6 kingdoms, establishing the Qin dynasty, and unifying the world. However, some experts believe that Yingzheng killed a person by mistake, which caused the Qin dynasty to only survive for 14 years. And this person was Han Feizi, a representative figure of legalism. Han Feizi was a Korean aristocrat with a wealthy family. However, at that time, South Korea was the weakest country among the 6 countries. Coupled with the Qin kingdom's massive attack on South Korea, tens of thousands of troops and horses were annihilated and 50 cities were lost. Korea was at its lowest point. The young Han Feizi saw that his country was suffering from internal and external troubles, while the king of Han was confused and did nothing. He decided to travel to Chu to learn the art of emperors in depth. Han Feizi became a disciple of Sun Tzu and not only learned Sun Tzu's imperial skills, but also had unique insights into Confucianism and law. After he completed his studies, he returned to Korea. He thought that he could use the imperial skills he learned to express his ambitions, but he did not expect that the king of Korea would scorn him. Han Feizi was so angry that he transformed the knowledge he had learned into words and published several books in succession. Although these books were not popular in Korea, after they spread to the Qin state, they were regarded as treasures by the Qin people. At that time, the Qin state was in the heyday of legalist theory. The whole Qin state particularly respected legal science, which later became known as governing the country by law. Qin Shi Huang heard about Han Feizi's talent, so he used Han Feizi to lobby and entertain him warmly when he was on a mission to Qin, and sincerely invited him to return to Qin, ensuring that he would be given great space and opportunities to display his talents. Han Feizi believed that although South Korea was not as powerful as Qin, it was still the country that gave birth to him, so he sternly rejected King Qin's invitation. Han Feizi's classmate Li Si was an official of the Qin state, but he always felt that he was more powerful than Han Feizi and was jealous of Han Feizi. He offered advice to the king of Qin. Han Feizi had great talents. If he did not adopt them for his own use, he would be a great trouble to Qin in the future. In fact, Li Si wanted to kill Han Feizi under the pretense of imprisonment. However, Qin Shi Huang, who did not notice this detail at the time, agreed, and Li Si decided to poison Han Fei in prison without authorization. Han Fei wanted to see King Qin to explain his grievances, but was unable to do so, so he was killed in prison. After some time, the king of Qin repented and sent people to prison to pardon Han Fei, but it was too late. Compared with the gentle Han Feizi, Li Si's style of dealing with things was very rigid and conservative. Because of this, Li Si was inflexible and the criminal law was extremely harsh. At that time, the people of various countries had not fully adapted to being unified by the Qin state, and they had a strong rebellious mentality. Coupled with the violent rule of the country by Qin too, the Qin state was destroyed. Therefore, if Han Feize had not been killed, maybe Qin could have continued its glory for hundreds of years. The 10 most powerful emperors in Chinese history. Qin Shi Huang only ranked second, but he deserved the first place. Source: Yahoo News. Chinese history has a history of 3,300 years starting from the mid-Shang dynasty when Oracle appeared, and the Chinese monarchy has a history of more than 4,000 years. Chinese monarchs also have many titles. Since Qin Shi Huang unified China, emperor has become the main title of the Chinese monarch. However, when listing the 10 most powerful emperors in history, Qin Shi Huang only ranks second. As for who is first, let us take a look. 10th place, Song Renzong Zhao Zhen. Zhao Zhen was born into an imperial family. He ascended the throne at the age of 12 and took charge of the government at the age of 23. The Song dynasty was the second period of academic freedom in Chinese history since the Spring and Autumn period and the Warring States period. Its root lies in the great tolerance of Emperor Taizhi Zhao Kuangyan. After Zhao Zhen came to the throne, he promoted this tradition to the greatest extent. The laws of the Song dynasty stipulated that ministers could not be whipped in the court, and ministers were not allowed to insult ministers. Except for rebellion, ministers were not allowed to kill, and they were not allowed to kill randomly. Zhao Zhen also specially established the speaking of officials system. The emperor of the Song dynasty would accept, demote, or dismiss his subordinates if they had different opinions, but they would never kill or persecute them. The Song dynasty did not establish literary prisons and was relatively tolerant of scholars, thus creating many outstanding poets and lyricists. They also wrote angry and arrogant poems with insinuations that have been passed down through the ages. They became as popular as song poems. They were strict with themselves and lenient towards others, and were praised by historians and politicians of all ages. In addition, almost all the famous officials of the Song dynasty appeared during the period of Renzong of the Song dynasty. For example, when Bao Zheng, Bao Gong/Bao Qingtian, served as a supervisory censor and an admonishment officer, he repeatedly violated Yan's Hejian's advice, and his saliva often splashed on Renzong's face in a hurry. But Renzong wiped his face with his sleeves and accepted his suggestion. Song Renzong Zhao Zhen's benevolence and magnanimity can be described as a generation of wise kings and saints, and he is known as the most benevolent king throughout the ages. 9th place, Holy Emperor Wu Zetian. Wu Zetian was born into a family of officials. She was naturally beautiful and intelligent. At that time, Emperor Jiaozong of the Tang dynasty was ill, so Wu Zetian used a strategy to depose the then queen, establish herself as the queen, and began to participate in government affairs. After the death of Emperor Jiaozong of the Tang dynasty, Wu Zetian deposed Emperors Zhongzong and Ruizhong, changed the country's title and proclaimed herself emperor, becoming the only female emperor in Chinese history, and the most famous empress of the generation. After Wu Zetian became emperor, she launched the imperial examination and employed people outside the rules. She also rewarded farmers, developed the economy, knew people well, and tolerated people's advice. She has been in charge of the government for nearly half a century, achieving social stability and economic development. She inherited the rule of Zhenguan and ushered in the prosperous Kaiwan era, laying a solid foundation for the arrival of the prosperous age of the Tang dynasty in ancient Chinese history. 8th place, Kangxi, the holy ancestor of the Qing dynasty. Kangxi succeeded to the throne at the age of 8 and took charge at the age of 14. He reigned for 61 years, making him the longest reigning emperor in Chinese history. Kangxi was eager to learn since childhood and had a strong will. He was just a child when he put on the dragon robe. What his ancestors handed him was not to unify the country, but to oppose the Qing forces and separatist activities from all directions. Kangxi came into power at the age of 14. At the age of 16, he got rid of the auxiliary ministers who were burdening him and took over the power. At the age of 20, he faced the San Francisco Rebellion led by Wu Sangui. After years of hard work, the 3 feudal lords were pacified and Mongolia was unified, Taiwan was recovered, and the North resisted Tsarist Russia to maintain unification. Kangxi's artistic image has more influence than any other emperor, and he is now the most popular star emperor depicted in movies and TV shows. Kangxi was not only an outstanding politician, but also a brave and wise strategist. He is clear-headed, good at both civil and military affairs. He emphasizes study on himself and diligence and prudence on government affairs. He was better able to peacefully handle racial relations between ethnic groups, promote social and economic development in the early years of the Qing dynasty, and establish the territory of China's multi-ethnic unified country. 7th place, Zhu Yuanzhang, Taizhu of the Ming dynasty. Zhu Yuanzhang was born as a commoner. He led a peasant uprising army to overthrow the Yuan dynasty and rule the country. Subsequently, the centralization of power was strengthened, the political situation was stabilized, production relations were adjusted, and the economy resumed development, laying a solid foundation for the development of the Ming dynasty. He formulated a set of regulations and systems that provided the necessary guarantee for the long-term stability of the Ming dynasty. Most of them were inherited and used by the Qing dynasty, which had a profound impact on future historical development. Zhu Yuanzhang's historical achievements far exceed those of China's previous founding emperors who established new dynasties as peasant emperors. 6th place, Emperor Lu Heng of Han Dynasty. Lu Heng was the 4th emperor of the Han Dynasty. He reigned for 23 years. He was frugal, simple, and self-disciplined, and rarely added personal items. Once he wanted to build a terrace, and he estimated that it would cost 100 kilograms of gold, which was equivalent to the property of 10 households in the middle-income family. After thinking about it, he gave up. He also opposed elaborate burials and required all burial objects to be made of pottery, and no precious metals such as gold and silver were allowed. He also advocated that after his death, the maids below the wife should be sent home so that they could remarry and have a good home. During Lu Heng's reign, he was light on taxes and even exempted himself from national land taxes for 12 years. He even farmed himself to set an example for the world, promoting the rapid recovery and development of productivity. Politically, he strengthened the centralization of power internally, consolidated national power, properly handled the relationship between South Vietnam and the Huns externally, implemented a policy of appeasement towards the South Vietnamese King Zhao Tuo, and a pacification policy towards the Huns, and at the same time strengthened border defense forces. Therefore, the Xiongnu invaded the Han territory 3 times, and Lu Hengjun quickly sent troops to fight back and defeated the powerful enemy. He created the first governance in Chinese history, the government of Wen and Jing, which enabled the Han dynasty to gradually move from the initial establishment of the country to prosperity, and laid a solid foundation for the later Han dynasty when Emperor Wu of the Han dynasty swept across all directions. 5th place, Emperor Wen of Sui dynasty Yang Jian. Yang Jian allowed a nation to survive a desperate situation and allowed a civilization to continue. He saved the Han culture and also saved the Chinese civilization. Most of the cultural classics of the Spring and Autumn period, Qin and Han dynasties were lost after the 5 Husties in China. After Emperor Wen of the Sui dynasty unified the country, he issued an edict to spend a lot of money to obtain books, restore Han surnames, stop the trend of Hunanization in the military and political circles, and strive to promote Hainization. After the fall of the Han dynasty, the young Han nation fell into 3.5 centuries of fighting and war. By the Eastern Jin dynasty, the Han people had been depressed after a long period of war. The dominant people on Chinese land were no longer Han people, but a nation called barbarians by the Han people. Various barbarian tribes invaded the Central Plains in large numbers, known in history as the 5 Husties Rebellion in China. Just when China was plunged into the darkest history, a shining name appeared, that is, the emperor of the generation Yang Jian, Emperor Wen of the Sui dynasty. At the most critical moment when the Han people were facing genocide, he successfully usurped the most powerful Hu government in China at that time and established the Sui dynasty. Although the Sui dynasty only lasted 37 years, it had a huge and far-reaching impact on later generations. Emperor Wen of the Sui dynasty was recognized by Western historians as one of the greatest emperors in Chinese history due to his outstanding contributions to the unification of China and the continuation of Chinese civilization. 4th place, Tang Taizong Li Shimin. Li Shimin was born into an aristocratic family. At the age of 18, he joined his father in revolting against the Sui dynasty, commanded the 3 armies, and achieved great success in unifying the country for the Tang dynasty. He became the 2nd emperor of the Tang dynasty and was known as Taizong in history. When the Tang dynasty was at a critical juncture of life and death, he personally led an army to repel 200,000 iron cavalry from the northern Turks who approached Chang'an city. Brave and good at fighting, he went against all odds and made peace with the powerful Turks in exchange for space for national development. He then led his military officials and people to revitalize the Tang dynasty, eliminate the Turks who had dominated the north for many years, achieve national unification, and revive the glory of the Han dynasty. Li Shimin spent 3 years strengthening military training and developing production to enhance national strength, creating a cavalry capable of competing with the Turkic cavalry, and at the same time achieved a complete victory. He had extraordinary courage and military talent. After many years of war, the people of the Tang dynasty in the early Zhenguan period were in decline, and everything was in dire straits. Li Shimin, who was only 29 years old, was politically farsighted and chose the road of strengthening military affairs and cultivating culture for the country. He promoted a series of enlightened governance strategies, unswervingly focused on supporting and promoting agriculture and mulberry trees, boldly laid off officials and settled the people, selected talents in an eclectic way, and accepted advice with an open mind, which put the Tang dynasty on a path of rapid development. Lu was the famous reign of Zhenguan and was recognized by historians as the most accomplished emperor in ancient China. 3rd place, Liu Che, Emperor Wu of the Han dynasty. Liu Che established a country with unprecedented dignity, gave an ethnic group the self-confidence to stand tall for a long time, and created a great era for a nation to strive for strength. He created an imperial legend that will be passed down through the ages, and also performed a fierce and bloody battle between heaven and earth. His national name has become the eternal name of a great nation, and he is also a true holy martial emperor in Chinese history, Emperor Han Wu. At the age of only 16, Liu Che used his astonishing courage to make a decision that shocked the ages, to attack the Huns from afar. After completely defeating the Huns, his descendants pursued the remnants of the Huns for 6,000 miles and killed the Xiongnu Chan in the western regions. They left behind a famous saying, "Anyone who offends a strong Han will be killed no matter how far away." It is still famous through the ages. He created systems, established scale, respected academics, and loved literary talent. He also advocated building a country based on morality and ruling the country by law. The state of China began with Emperor Wu of the Han dynasty. Second place, Qin Shi Huang Yingzheng. Yingzheng ended the centuries-long separatist situation, achieved the great unification of the Chinese nation, and made groundbreaking contributions to the development of China's feudal society. He also brought China into the era of centralized imperialism. He was the founder of China's first unified empire and the first feudal emperor in China. He established the first centralized state in Chinese history that unified a multi-ethnic autocratic center. He fought against the Huns in the north, built the world-famous Great Wall, and expanded Baidu further south, making China the largest empire in the world at that time. First place, Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan launched the largest war in human history, founded the Mongol Empire, the largest country in the world, and swept 4/5 of the entire human world in the 13th century. He conquered China, plundered Europe, conquered India, fought Egypt, annexed Korea, invaded Japan, invaded Vietnam, and pacified Java. He destroyed more than 40 countries in total, pushing military art to the peak of the Cold Weapon Age. He is the most influential figure in world history and the greatest successor in human history, but he also brought about the greatest disaster in human history. His actions have left the greatest controversy for future generations, but it is undeniable that he is the most influential king of the world in Chinese history. Conclusion. It took 15 years to destroy the 6 countries, but they were gone in 14 years.